Hi, everyone, and welcome to another conversation. And today I'm joined by someone I've known for a while, Tom. Tom, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, certainly. My name's Tom Baker. I am a professional services manager at a cloud telephony company. We build telephony integrations predominantly into Salesforce. And as part of that, I lead a team of consultants focused on the more technical end of the integrations. And depending on the deployment, I can also act as an architect as well.
Okay, so first up, you've got a famous name. So tell me about the fourth and for people who don't know, the fourth Doctor Who.
Who's the best doctor? Excellent scarves.
Yeah,
Addiction to jelly babies. Always good.
so I liked Tom Baker too. Something else I know about you. I mean, you're a doc. You sign yourself Doctor Tom Baker. You have a PhD, and the PhD is in chemistry. So, Tom, I know you started out, using that PhD in a chemical engineering company in emergency response. I mean, we kind of think of people running around in color suits. What was that about?
Yeah, I've done that. I enjoyed the boil in the bag experience in being in a hazmat suit. It was mostly an opportunity to use a lot of the problem solving from my PhD, but actually in a practical way.
Hmm.
Situations would arise where there were very immediate consequences if something wasn't done, and being able to help out and come to very rapid but uh, high consequence decisions. It was really interesting, really valuable.
Okay, so it'd be interesting to see if that applies today, because today, as you said, you're a professional services manager, running a team, and getting involved in some of the, let's say, more interesting aspects of design. So tell me what appeals to you about that position.
Um, so that's It's largely the same actually as chemistry. It's an art of the possible. We have a customer who wants to achieve a thing. Now that the thing that they're attempting to achieve may be within sort of the space of what we know we can do with our solution, or it may be something that we've never tried. And trying to combine all of our potential toolbox to see if we can actually meet that particular requirement. So it's a it's a similar kind of problem-solving exercise, even though
Hmm.
it's a very different situation.
Hmm.
Already got more time to think about it, that's for sure.
So talk to me about some of the projects you've been involved with, and I mean, is it variety? Is it the fact that they're international? Is it the fact that they're enterprise organizations? What's doing it for you?
Um, so all of those things are true. They're all interesting elements to the sort of problems that are presented to me. I think the main thing for me is actually a little bit of the exploration. It doesn't necessarily matter whether it's a huge organization with very large systems that they want to integrate, or whether it's just a small organization who they've got 3 or 4 users, but they would really like to plug this into that. Um, it's the it's the moment when a customer says, "Can we do this?" and you think, "Wait, I don't know if we can do this, but let's try. Let's figure it out." That's the bit that really excites me on a personal level. I mean, when you're working with very large organizations, you get more of those types of questions because they will have a lot of systems that they'll potentially want to integrate. But then there'll be a lot of inertia behind that kind of integration. There's going to be a lot of organizational documentation, a lot of access controls, things like that. So with the smaller companies, you often find actually you have a similar discussion, but you can move a lot faster and you can work in a much more sort of agile fashion. Um,
Yeah.
but they're both very interesting.
If you could provide some advice, maybe, to the people on our customer side, who come along, perhaps, and I'm thinking with preconceptions about what's possible. And I think we both know what happens. Sometimes you're presented with the answer as if it was the question, because I think people operate with some kind of constraints. I mean, what would be your single top piece of advice to someone coming along as part of a project to you and saying, Tom, here's what I want?
Um, I think the most important thing is to also articulate why. Um, we get this a lot with use cases. People will have a defined idea. They have a particular outcome in mind, and they've been focusing very hard on how they can potentially achieve it, and they focus on that that process that they've been through on what they're trying to achieve and how they think they can potentially do it. But um, one of the advantages of this kind of role is that we see a lot of different organizations and their approaches to situations and requirements that are relatively common across the industry. Ultimately, we're having people attempting to contact organizations via a variety of different digital channels, but it's people trying to contact organizations, and so there's going to be a lot of commonality between that. And if we can get to the why of why a customer wants to do a thing, then although yes, having a good idea of how the customer thinks they can potentially achieve it is really useful, the why itself is more important because it may be that there's a completely different way of doing it that hasn't occurred to them that we can then bring and say, actually, if you're looking for this outcome, other organizations have done it in X, Y, Z ways, and here are the pros and cons of each of them. And it
Mhm.
becomes a much wider discussion, and it may then give the customer or give the prospect ways of integrating or ways of achieving their goal that they hadn't thought of. And that's one of the big advantages of having an experienced organization to help you through that kind of decision making process.
So I like that, and I think the organisations that we both speak to, because obviously you're working on a lot of the projects that I'm at the front end of, um, but it is sadly for some people coming with a prior experience, perhaps of an on-premise solution, and thinking, well, it's going to work that way. It's just in the cloud. Well, actually, it could be a totally different way. But I like your, why. And even to me, it seems like instead of saying this is what I want to achieve, which is a step in the right direction, rather than this is how I want to achieve it, but this is what I want. But for you to say why, and they have to think, well, because I need that.
Mm,
Why? Well, because with that, we're going to make decisions about this. Why? And then it's five whys again, which I don't know whether
yes.
we do the five whys process to really get to the actual reason, because then it's possible to go away and come back with some options.
Yep.
Um, hopefully that are smart, efficient, maybe um, a better price point even than people were thinking about. Looking at the time, Tom, I think we're coming to the end. So what I want to do is thank you very much for coming and sharing your thoughts for today.
Well, thank you very much for the invite. It's always nice to chat.
Thanks, Tom.